going to go ahead and get started. These slides are just packed with information, and I hope that we get through all of them, and I apologize in advance for speaking quickly. If you're just hopped on the call, in the chat, there are links to a sign-in sheet. And if you would just take 30 seconds to fill out that online form, it's just going to help us track attendance and make sure you get credit for being here. So my name is Christina Perkins, and I'm a speech language pathologist and assistive technology AAC specialist. I've been supporting the SWAAAC program for about 18 years now, and I have to tell you, it's a dream job. I just love the opportunity to work with all of you and interface with all of you. And I really want everyone to know that I love hearing from you. So if there's ever anything that I can do to help support your work, please never hesitate to reach out to me by phone, by email. I'm always here and available to you. The SWAAAC program, for those of you who may be unfamiliar, is actually a partnership, a collaboration, a contract with the Colorado Department of Education. And so these two agencies, the university and CDE, are working together to support our Colorado public school educators and related service providers as they work to implement assistive technologies and augmentative alternative communication for our students with disabilities. I just want to double check before we go any further. Ashley, Brenda, do either of you, can you confirm that we are indeed recording?
Yes, we are.
We are.
Super, thanks guys. Okay, so if you haven't had a chance to download the handout and you're wanting to make sure you have a record of the slides, here's a QR code. You can snap that really quickly, and/or I'm sure Ashley or Brenda will do us a favor and perhaps paste the link into that chat. Okay, so before we go further, I just want to take a moment and talk about what the research says about professional development. For anybody that's familiar, it's a little disheartening, right? The research statistics tell us that, you know, sometimes professional development, particularly these quick sit and get sorts of platforms, aren't always the most effective at creating real meaningful change in the workplace. And so for me personally, I never want my time spent in professional development to end that way. And so my strategy is to look for the 3, 4, 5, 6 most meaningful things that I can take away from professional development. I write them down on sticky notes, and then I take them with me into my workspace, my environment, and I post them where I know I'm going to see them multiple times throughout the course of the day. And in doing so, I'm just kind of constantly reminded of what I want to change about my practice or include in my practice, and it helps me develop habits. And so whatever it is that works for you, maybe it's sticky notes, maybe it's not, I just want to encourage you to find your groove and what works for you. Write it down. I mean, that's one thing that research does say works, right? If we want to achieve a goal, write it down, break it into smaller achievable pieces and parts, and then make it a habit. So I just want to encourage everybody as we go through this webinar, take just a minute and write down, those pieces and parts that we get to that have meaning for you, that you think might result in some impact, and then take it right away into your work environment and revisit it over the course of the next couple weeks. And let's see if together we can't create some meaningful change. Okay, so today we are talking about the SWAAAC Loan Library, and hopefully at the end of our time, everyone will be familiar with at least 3 different high-tech AAC devices, some low-tech AAC devices, And then resources that are available in the library to help support language and literacy instruction for students with complex communication needs, as well as some resources to support professional development, whether it's for you personally or maybe for staff members, different members of your team. So let's talk a little bit about this loan library. We have about 2,400 items in the library. Assistive technology, all kinds of devices, high tech to low tech, all ages, all categories of assistive technology. And for Colorado, people who are working in Colorado schools, most school districts and BOCES have what we refer to as the SWAAC team coordinator, who can go into the library and make requests and check out equipment. We would love to give all our educators and related service providers access to the library, but we would run out of man hours in a hurry. So we really do rely on these team coordinators, but encourage all educators, all related service providers, anyone working in the schools, if we talk about something that's interesting to you, reach out to your team coordinator, form a partnership with them in order to get access to these valuable resources. If you're not sure who your team coordinator might be, I encourage you to go onto our website. It's SWAAAC, SWAAAC.org, SWAAC.org. And from that website, we keep an updated list of all the district and BOCES team coordinators. So once you're on the SWAAC.org website, from there you can also link to our online library. And that website is swac.goalexandria.com. And you might hear me use the word Alexandria intermittently. What I'm talking about is, in fact, the online library. Anybody can go on to the online library. And I want to stress that, we work really hard to make sure that there's something for everybody in this library, even if you don't have login credentials and you don't have the ability to directly request equipment. There are immediately downloadable resources in the library. There are lots of hyperlinks to carefully curated videos in YouTube that are demonstration videos, implementation videos. There are lots of resources to be had in the library, even if you're not checking something out. If you want to learn more about our library, every year in August, particularly for our team coordinators, we do a webinar, Getting to Know the Loan Library. There is a bit of a process for check-in and check-out, finding things in the library, managing equipment. And so there is this webinar that is recorded. It's on the SWAAC YouTube channel, and anybody can view this webinar in order to learn more about how the library works. Last year, we had several team coordinators who got together and provided a webinar, Accessing the Fun Stuff. And when we say fun stuff, what we are talking about are all those really fun things that kids tend to look forward to at school. So, music, art, PE, recess, field trips, field days, all the fun stuff. And they went through and talked about all kinds of different assistive technology that could be used to support participation. And a great lot of it that they referenced was in fact available through our loan library. So if you would like to learn more about that kind of assistive technology, this is a great webinar. We have SWAAC literacy kits in the loan library, and they're kind of big kits. They come in a big box. There's a lot in there, and at some point we were getting a lot of requests for a webinar that kind of dug into the literacy kits and talked about everything that's in those boxes. And so if you're interested in the SWAAC literacy kits, there's a webinar to do that. And then most recently, our own Claire Simpson, our resident occupational therapist, did a great webinar for us that looked at feature matching to compare switches that were in our loan library. So if that's something you're interested in, another great webinar to pick up. And so here's just a few pictures peeking inside the Central SWAAC office and the loan library. We live with boxes. Boxes are our life. We love it. One of the best ways, I think, to get a deeper understanding of the breadth of the loan library is to come down and visit us. You know, sometimes new team coordinators will come down. Sometimes whole SWAAC teams will come down and spend a couple hours just, you know, perusing the aisles and digging into the shelves in order to get a better understanding of everything that we have available. Okay, so now let's really dig into AAC. I know a lot of folks on the call are team coordinators and or AAC specialists, but there are a lot of providers, educators in our public schools who are generalists, but have kids with AAC on their caseloads, right? And so I really hope that by the end of our time today, everybody has a better understanding of how what we have in the library can help those folks as much as any other AAC specialists. Here is a list of manufacturers that are represented in the library. If I had to guess, I would say that Cranky Romick, Saltillo, Toby Dynabox, Forbes Rehab Services, these are the companies that probably represent the lion's share of the market here in Colorado. However, they are not the only games in town, and there are other devices out there with different features. They represent different niche sorts of features that certain students might really benefit from. And so we like to make sure that the library offers lots of options, not just the ones that seem to be most common in Colorado. And I'll tell you that all but one of these companies has a pathway to funding through Colorado Medicaid. The only one that is not fundable is Talk to Me Technologies. And we'll kind of talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. So if we look at what we have in the library from Cranky Romick Company, I think you'll find that pretty much their entire product line is pretty well represented. The same with Saltillo. You might notice that there are some devices between these two lists that include discontinued items. And the reason that we keep some discontinued items around is for when students have devices that get sent in for repair. And so you can go into the library, request that item in order to tide that student over while their device is being repaired. Sometimes people will request devices for the purposes of professional development. So if you have a student, let's say that's using a NovaChat 12, you could request a NovaChat 12 for training purposes so that you're not reliant on that student's device to do the training. And then there are a few other PRC Saltillo items in the library that are related to their AAC devices. We have compatible mounts, we have key guard sets, touch guides, and the PRC arrow switch. Again, here we have Toby Dynavox, both current versions of their iSeries as well as the discontinued items. Sometimes when these items become discontinued, you might get an email from us if you request them, just ensuring that you're aware they've been discontinued. I would hate for someone to request a piece of equipment, use it for evaluation purposes, get all their paperwork done only to realize that the device is no longer available. So just something to keep your eyes on as you're requesting equipment. If it's for funding devices, just make sure that you're aware of what's current and or has been discontinued. Forbes Rehab Services, we have the ProSlate 8, 10, and the WinSlate for kids with Enable-Eyes. They have recently released a ProSlate 13 and a ProSlate 13 with Enable-Eyes, and we have those devices coming soon, so we're excited to get that added to the library. Other related items for these manufacturers, we have all of the Tobii Dynavox iOS apps on our iOS devices in the library. And then I wanted to mention that particularly for the Tobii Dynavox eye gaze devices, if there are optional software programs that can be purchased with those devices, we often do purchase those programs. So if you're looking for the accessible literacy learning software, it's on the iDevices. If you're interested in pod page sets, it's on the i110 devices, probably on the iDevices, iSeries as well. For the eye gaze devices, we usually try to put on a training program. So the sensory effects software, or possibly look to learn on some of the devices. Pod shows up on other manufacturers' devices as well. But I just wanted to point that out, that sometimes if optional software is out there to be had, we do purchase as well. The core first books and lessons, I don't know how many people may have ever downloaded these resources. They're great little books. I don't know, up to 3 years ago or so, Mayor Johnson printed and published a book set, and they're very nice. You can't get them anymore. Now you have to download them and print them yourself. But if you'd like to get a look at them, we do have the nice published versions. And again, we have compatible floor and desk mounts. And then with regard to FRS, they published these language development kits a couple years ago, and they come with radio-controlled toys and proprietary page sets on their systems that control the toys. And so we do have the language development kits and purchased all the infrared, are they infrared or radio controlled? Must be infrared toys that go along with the development kit. And here we have SmartBox. You can see we, I think, pretty much have the gamut of all the SmartBox devices. I feel like I've seen SmartBox really gain some traction in the market here in Colorado. I feel like there's a lot more interest lately in Grid 3, that software. So these devices are seeing a lot more circulation. I think they're really nice devices. If you haven't taken a look at SmartBox yet, it's nice equipment. I mentioned Talk to Me Technologies just a moment ago. They are not fundable at this point in Colorado through Colorado Medicaid. However, we did purchase and include a Zuvo 10. And the reason we did that is because the team coordinator from the Colorado School for the Deaf and Blind had identified a proprietary high contrast page set that she was really liking for her students. And it's a nice high contrast page set. And so if you're struggling with a student who really needs that kind of customization, it might be worth worth looking at and giving a try. But I always try to be clear that as much as you like it, it may not be fundable. Control Bionics has the trilogy with the NeuroNode. For anybody who's not familiar, the NeuroNode is an EMG device, so it's measuring neuromuscular electrical activity. And so for students where there isn't real noticeable movement going on, the NeuroNode can measure and use potential, muscular electrical potential. And it uses it to throw a switch. So this is kind of like a single switch, but again, it's that very minute electrical signal that could be coming across muscles. And then Logan Tech, probably not anything I would consider high-tech AAC, but I put it here because the Prox Talker, the Prox Pad, these are kind of niche-y products that sometimes work really well for students, but have never been terribly fundable through insurance or Colorado Medicaid. And now they are. That's why I added it here. So Colorado New Motion has developed a department, and they are representing and funding Logan Tech, SmartBox, and Control Bionics. So that was kind of why I just kind of put the Logan Tech equipment in there. And then just a few more for you. Shelton Technologies and Resources. We have the TELUS i6 and the Vibe 12AS. These are Jabla devices that are built on the Mind Express software, and they have Gateway, Pod, and Score page sets, as well as we've added Linda Burkhart's Steps Before Step Scanning. So if you're interested in that program, they are on the TELUS i6 and the Vibe 12, and these devices are fundable through Shelton Technologies and Resources. And then one last device to mention is this iTech digital system, the Ion Elite. They like to brag about the artificial intelligence that drives their eye gaze software. So just one more option to try if you're looking at eye gaze. All right, so we have reached a participation portion of today's webinar. I would love for everyone to jump on chat. Here's an opportunity to kind of write things down, put things on paper, put it in the chat. What have you borrowed? We would love to hear, like, what has been your experience? Why did you borrow something? Did you discover something that you didn't know before? What was the outcome? Or maybe you've never borrowed before. Did you see something that you might like to borrow? Go ahead and put something down in the chat. Anybody? Our SLP team has borrowed several of the high-tech devices to support evaluations and trials, and then pursue personal devices for students. Excellent. That is a great use of the library. One of the best. I haven't borrowed yet, but planning to, and would like to borrow switches, switch-activated toys. Great. I haven't borrowed from the library. It's good to know it exists. A lot of districts have their own libraries, at which point this one just kind of is an augmentation, maybe fills in some gaps and holes. And Robin says, I think we borrowed nearly all the eye gaze devices. It's been really helpful. Challenges have been availability and the length of time of the trial. especially when there are school breaks. I hear that a lot. If you experience a trial or a loan period that stretches across a break, I encourage everybody to reach out to us, and we will give you some extension of time. I realize that if it goes across Thanksgiving or Christmas or spring break, we can do something to help out there. People borrowing devices, literacy kits, steps to scanning. Very cool program. I haven't borrowed yet, but glad to know it exists. Learning about Logan Proxtalker. Okay, great. Yay. All right. So I talked a lot about everything that's in there, but what's missing? Is there anything that you thought I might talk about that I didn't mention, or maybe something that you're using in your district or have funded for students that I didn't mention? What's missing? You know, I didn't expressly say this, but our iPads, which is a separate loan, has a wide variety of AAC programs on the iPads. So touch chat, LAMP, um, Proloquo, you name it, they're all on there. Snapseeing, Snapcore. Okay, let's talk about low tech or mid tech, really. I know lots of people try to draw boxes around mid tech and low tech, but I'm just going to kind of lump it all together. I feel like there's a lot of gray space when we talk about mid tech and low tech. But here are the manufacturers that I feel are well represented in the library: AbleNet, Attainment, Enabling Devices, and Inclusive TLC. And really, Inclusive TLC kind of stretches across high tech and lower tech. So here's what we have from AbleNet. I think it's a pretty good representation of all their equipment. What is missing, however, is the freestyle. I know a lot of people, reach out and ask about including the freestyle in the library. But unfortunately, AbleNet will not sell a freestyle through any other mechanism other than insurance. So unfortunately, we're not able to put the freestyle in the library. We have looked very carefully at the case that the freestyle is in, thinking maybe we could, buy the case, but it is made exclusively for AbleNet. However, I will say, in light of our inability to provide that to you, AbleNet, from what I understand, has been very gracious about getting loaners out into the field. So if you do want to look at the freestyle, if you want to trial it with a student, it's my understanding that they've been great about getting loaner equipment out to people. And then attainment, you can see here we have the original GoTalk 4+, 9+, 20+, but then we've also added the light touch versions for the 9 and the 20. We have an Express 32, and then this next bullet here is probably a historical list of everything that GoTalk's ever put out for 1 to 4 message, more mobile sorts of solutions. So the keychains, the buttons, the selects, the pockets, the fits, the GoTalk Go, kind of all in the same sort of category for small little on-the-go communicators. And then enabling devices. Oh my goodness, we have so much equipment from enabling devices. In the column here on the left, These are the devices that have between 2 and 4 locations, 2 and 4 messages. And then as you move to the right, there are more message opportunities, 4 to 8. And then the last 3 in that column are designed more for communicators who might also be experiencing a visual impairment. In the left column for this slide, these communicators stretch between 4 and up to 48 messages. So the last device here, the 4-compartment scanning communicator with levels, actually has 12 levels. So there's opportunity for 48 messages on that last device. And then if we come to the right column, those top 2 are wearables. So they strap to the wrist and or the hips. And then the communicators below that are designed probably more to fill a specific communication need within an environment or maybe an activity. And then here we have inclusive TLC. We have the original Skyle and the Skyle 2, which I would not consider a low-tech or mid-tech device. These are high-tech devices. But then we also have a lot of equipment from TLC that works with the SimplyWorks controls, the Petrorian interfaces, and all of the SimplyWorks switches. And then there is just a ton of other stuff in the library that is low tech, kind of random here, there, and everywhere. I'm going to just pull out a few though for you. We have 6 different pod books that are printed for you to look at and work with, but we also have what we call pod stations. And so what we've done here is put the pod software onto laptops, and then we've included in the bag, in the laptop bag, Boardmaker 6 software, which you have to have in order to populate the pod books, right? So there's the Boardmaker 6 software and a USB disk drive. A lot of laptops now don't come with disk drives. So in the laptop bag, you have a plug and play disk drive, at which point you can run the Boardmaker into the pod software and get a good solid look at all of the templates that are available, and then try your hand at customizing pod books. If we come down the list a little ways, there's this core vocabulary folder. And those folders are physical manila folder low-tech solutions that are available with Boardmaker symbols or with symbol sticks. And the reason that I'm pointing it out is because remember I said there's like all kinds of resources in the library for everybody that anybody can access. We put a link to all the files to make these core vocabulary folders in that library listing, along with links to a YouTube video that is an explanation, instructions on how to put the folders together. So if you're looking to put together some low-tech communication boards, and there's little flip pieces about it, there's little pockets where you can slip kind of like overlays in and out. It's a slick little system. Just go online, search for the core vocabulary folder, and you'll have all the files for it. We have laser systems. Like sometimes the simplest solutions are the best solutions. So I love to kind of point out these laser systems to people. And then we have some 3D tactile symbol systems in the library. The very last bullet there, the 3D symbols for the visually impaired, these are these symbols were printed on a 3D printer in our office using the files that were developed by the Center for Literacy and Disability Studies in Chapel Hill. These were the files that were attached to the DLM professional development modules and instructional materials. Okay, so now I want to hear from you. Again, was there something that I mentioned that kind of stood out for you? Maybe that you borrowed? Why did you borrow things? What was the outcome? Was there something that you haven't borrowed that you would like to borrow? So in the chat, Robin is asking about mounting systems. If you remind me, Robin, we can circle back around to that as we get towards the end here. So have we talked at all about low-tech solutions that are interesting? Yeah, sometimes keeping things simple for families, for teams, teaching teams, can be the best solutions. And it's always like best practice to have low-tech backup systems. Anyone else? Okay. Did I fail to mention something? Maybe something that you were hoping to see? Something that could be added to the library? Okay, so we've got all this wonderful equipment, all these great devices, but again, you know, not all of the speech pathologists, all of our special educators out there are swimming every day in the world of AT and AAC. And it's hard to stay on top of, you know, the evidence-based and best practices, even when you are swimming in it every day, right? There's a lot to stay ahead of. And so we really felt strongly that it was important to include resources in the library to help support language and literacy instruction, right? Some materials that people could put their hands on and go, oh, okay, I can do that. I see now, right? So the Tell Me preschool curriculum kit is in the library in both English and Spanish. First author, start to finish, the all reading curriculum. We have early literacy skills builder, but we also have the early science and early numeracy skills builder, in case you're interested. Clicker 7 on a MacBook Pro. Story grammar marker was never really developed or designed for students with complex communication needs, but was brought to our attention by some AAC specialists as lending itself very nicely to developing narrative skills with children who are using AAC. Meville to Weeville is older. It's been around a long time. I don't even know if you can still buy it. But there's some good stuff there if you ever, you know, just need to pick something up and go with it. There's some nice materials in Meville to Weeville. A lot of what is here, it's great for kids with complex communication needs, but also children who need alternate access. So that's also kind of partly why it's made its way to this list. And a few more. learn and play with words all day, color my conversation, WH questions, expanding expression toolkits. All good for kids with complex communication needs. Okay, so now we're going to talk just a little bit about the SWAAC literacy kits. These kits come with an activity guide, and what we've done is taken a popular children's book title and pulled out potential vocabulary, language, reading, and extender activities, reading goals and activities. So the very first thing you'll see on the activity guide are core vocabulary words, tier 1, tier 2 vocabulary words, and then concepts and language goals and objectives. And then throughout the activity guides, we take kind of a anchor, read, apply approach. Sometimes we break out shared reading and CAR strategies, C-A-R strategies. There will be predictable chart writing sentence frames included in the activity guides. There's usually strategies and activities for building background knowledge and teaching vocabulary in order to support reading comprehension. And so the idea here is that, again, not everybody is swimming every day, all day long in the world of AAC. And so the activity guides are intended to fall into the hands of a teacher or a speech path or an OT even, and give immediate ideas about how to use that book, how to incorporate engaging activities to promote and facilitate the use of functional communication and language, and target potential language and literacy goals. So I'll show you that in just a minute. And what I want you to hear is that the activity guides are in the box, but they are also linked in the Alexandria listing. So anybody can go on the website and pull down the activity guides. We've also posted the content lists because we've gotten feedback from districts that say, oh, this is great, my teachers love it, I want to make one for our district to have. And so between the activity guide and the contents list, if you wanted to recreate a literacy kit for your district, everything that you need is there. We've also recently added the Sensible literacy kits. These are developed by a company called Sensible Literacy, and they have some similarities to the SWAAC literacy kits, but they are definitely meant more for students who really benefit from lots of tactile, kinesthetic sorts of activities. And then the last thing I want to show you are the adapted books. So, you know, outside of the activity, the SWAAC literacy kits, we have a large collection of titles that have been scanned and put into PowerPoint or put into Google Slides. Some of them have been adapted for vision impairment. Some of them have like forward picture symbols on the pages. And so if you needed an adapted book for a student, you needed to customize a book, you need to print it larger than the book and laminate it and add interactive elements. The PowerPoint books and the Google Slide books could be a great place to start. It's just a stepping stone to more customization and modification. I'm gonna go into the Loan Library webpage. And so when you first go to SWAAC.goalexandria.com, this is what you'll see. And if you know exactly what you want to look for, you can use this search feature and just type something in. And all I did was type literacy kit, and now you can see all the different literacy kits. Some of the kits are intended for older students. They aren't as developed as the others, except for Hey Jack. Hey Jack is brand new to the library, and it has been fully developed. That's a nice literacy kit. We also have the Wonder literacy kit for older students. That one has been fully developed. But all of the other ones, like Romeo and Juliet, The Wizard of Oz, are a little underdeveloped. But here you can see we have Rainbow Fish, Pigeon Needs a Bath, Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, Fortunately, Sam Sandwich, Shark in the Park. And if I click on any one of them, you'll get more of a description of what's in there. And then I can click on the embedded links. And here you can see this has the content list for everything that is in this literacy kit. All the activities that require printables are in there. Overlays for the Go Talk are printed, laminated, and in there. We usually find a related Tar Heel book and we'll put it into these soft Velcro sensitive books from Augmentative resources. Single message communicators if they're part of the activities. So lots to be had. Here you can see the activity guide. And if you click on it, this is what our activity guides look like. And here you can see for Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, we've pulled out core vocabulary targets, tier 1, tier 2, fringe, potential language targets, and reading targets. And then it goes into anchor, build background knowledge. We give you all kinds of fun links to YouTubes. There's read with a purpose. We give suggestions for different purposes. Read for another purpose, a different purpose. We look at activities to promote phonemic and phonologic awareness. And here's promoting different vocabulary based on the kind of communicator you're working with, whether they're emergent or context dependent. Ideas for reading comprehension, building narrative skills, grammar skills, writing, predictable chart writing. So this activity guide is available for anyone to download and have access to. Okay, so as I mentioned, if you know what you're looking for, you can use this search function. But if you're not entirely sure what you're looking for, or you just want to explore what's in the library, you can click on the rocket and activate the explore function. And here we have broken the library into some large categories, one of which is AAC. I can click on that and bring up all the different categories of AAC. I can look just very specifically at static display devices or dynamic display devices, tablet-based devices. I will tell you that as hard as we have tried to tag everything and make all of this work seamlessly, it's not perfect. This is school library software, and so we're kind of putting a square peg into a round hole. And so if you don't see what you need or what you're looking for, I encourage you to contact us. It could just be something kind of funny and glitchy. We can help you find what you need, and are happy to do it. So here you can see all the different 12-ish message communicators in the library. Okay. If I click on the More button here in the Explore function, I have an option for digital books and activities. And now I can select PowerPoint books for low vision, and Google Slide books. And PowerPoint books is going to bring up all the PowerPoint books, including those that were modified for low vision. And so now here you can see all these titles. Right? Let's say I would really like the PowerPoint version of Dear Zoo. Right? You'll notice that there is this link, SWAAC Digital Books and Activities Item Request and Agreement Form. We are not able to put a link in here that will allow you to immediately download an adapted book because there's copyright laws, right? And so what this does is creates a situation, a form, a survey whereby you tell us that you own an original physical copy of the book, right? So I want Dear Zoo. I want it as a PowerPoint book for CVI. I hit next. Yes, I own this book. Then I can sign it, I date it, I submit it. And a couple times a week, we go into this spreadsheet and look for requests. And once we have that survey submitted, then we can email you the PowerPoint book or send you a link to the Google Slide book. All right, I'm going to try and jump back to my PowerPoint now. But before I go, oh, I know Robin. Let's see here. Let's go back and look at Robin's comment. So I'm going to go back into Explore. She was asking about mounting equipment because, you know, that is such an important part of a good device trial if someone needs mounting. So if I go into mount, it's got its own category right here. And here you can see all the different kinds of mounts that are in the loan library. Let's look at swing away mounts. We've got a mountain mover and a mountain mover evaluation kit. We have the connected floor stand as a folding mount, a couple different floor mounts, some tabletop mounts. So again, some options and choices there. And if you don't see what you need, please don't hesitate to reach out to our office because we're really committed to making sure you have what you need. Okay, are there any comments or questions in the chat? Who created the kits, the SWAAC literacy kits? It was very much a team effort. And if you open up an activity guide, you'll see probably 24 names on there, people that worked really hard to put those kits together. So now that you've had a look at some of those materials and resources, Again, this is an opportunity to think about, your next steps and how this content and presentation might apply to you, what you want to take away and put into practice or follow up with come tomorrow. Go ahead and put some ideas in that chat. What did you like? What have you borrowed? What would you like to borrow? The adapted book kits, the literacy kits, they are some of our most popular library items. Yay! Lots of interest in the literacy kits. Yes, the kits for the older students, um, we realize a lot of the literacy kits um, work well with younger students. Um, we have, like I said, two now that are nicely well developed for older students, and we have two more that are hopefully coming down the pike soon. All right. Was there anything that you were hoping to see that is missing from the library? Any suggestions? Okay. So the last thing that I have for you today is a list of support materials around professional development. We have some books, some texts, the Comprehensive Literacy for All, is a great text. Karen Erickson and David Copenhaver, Reading and Writing the Four Blocks Way, Unlocking Literacy, Effective Decoding and Spelling. This was a recommended book by Denise DeCoste. And a few others here. I will draw your attention to the Communication Matrix Kit. The Communication Matrix is just a fantastic tool that has really moved, for the most part, online. However, not too long ago, we were the lucky recipients of some original printed test booklets and materials for the Communication Matrix. And so we coupled those materials with the other publications that are available from the Matrix website. So there's a parent guide to the Matrix. There's pre-symbolic communicators publication. There's a tangible symbol systems text. And so we've just taken all of them and put them all together in one place. And so if you wanted to spend some time kind of digging deep into the communication matrix, all those publications are together for you in the kit. Something else that we've been doing with these materials in particular, as the school year winds down, we offer them up as a summer loan. So just, a limited number of library items can be checked out, in May, June, and you can hold on to them for the entire summer. So if you wanted to try and work your way through the entire comprehensive literacy for all as you're, relaxing poolside, we would love to make that an option for you. So checking it out at the end of the school year and then having it not due back until everybody comes back in the fall. All right. So what are your questions? What have we not talked about that you were hoping that we might cover? What's on your sticky note? We're probably a small enough group. If somebody wanted to unmute, that would probably be fine. Any comments? General comments or questions about the library?
Hi, Chris.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you this afterwards, but others might benefit from the answer too. So I'll ask you now. Do you follow particular listservs or keep in touch with particular vendors, or how do you keep up with when devices are being discontinued, when new devices are coming onto the market, all of that kind of thing?
Well, that's a great question. It's, kind of our work, right? Always expanding and researching what's on the market. So I think every time I look at purchasing equipment, I will look at the website for that manufacturer. I look at all the accessories. Um, it's kind of this prompt for me to go in and look at everything. And then, I have to say that some of the best information that I get about, what's on the market and what's happening comes from the field. I love when people just shoot me a quick email and say, hey, have you seen this yet? Or, have you heard about, or do you know? And it, sends me out to the internet and says, oh, I hadn't heard about that NovaChat 12 being discontinued. And that's when I go and I find out. Other thoughts or questions?
I just know you guys have a lot of stuff and it's hard to stay on top of everything that's new. So I wanted to come and see if there's things in there that I hadn't heard of before, and there were, so I wrote those down.
It's such a rapidly changing field, and there's such nuance, between features. I got to thinking about the different cameras on the grid pads, the Aaliyah versus the Lumini. And I remember when the Lumini came out, they kept the Aaliyah camera as an option. You can get either one. And I had a long conversation with the sales rep about the differences between the two cameras. Don't ask me what they were because I don't remember, but they were significant. But if, someone were to shoot me an email tomorrow that says, hey, what's the difference between the Aaliyah camera and the Lumina? It'd be this great prompt for me to revisit that conversation and answer those questions. And that's our job, right? Like, that's what we're here for. When you have those questions, never hesitate to shoot them to us. We're happy to do some of that research and legwork. Well, I hope everybody has something written down, something to take back to work with them tomorrow. I hope that our inbox is flooded with requests for AAC and AAC support materials in the library. And again, I encourage everybody to go in and, look at that online library for all the resources that are there, even beyond what devices or items that you might request as a loan. And then, as ever, we're here to support you. This is our work to support you. So never hesitate to reach out by email or by phone. We love to hear from all of you.